Hello, my name is Anne DeSantis. I'm the director for the St. Raymond Nonatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. I want to tell you what's been going on with us since we've been in existence in 2015. The Mercedarian friars came together and decided that they wanted to start a foundation to make outreach to families in crisis. And that's exactly what they did when the St. Raymond Nonatus Foundation came into existence as a nonprofit 501c3 headquartered in Philadelphia. Since that time, I became the director in the beginning of 2018, and we basically have four facets to what we do. We offer prayer, priestly consultations, podcasts and videos, and also programs and events. Now, if you've never been to our website, just to invite you to go to nonatus.org and check out all the great things that we've been doing. Because since that time, since we've been in existence, we've now helped hundreds of families who are going through really challenging times. And as you all know, we went through a really challenging time in 2020. So I'd just like to invite you to go and check out the great things that we're doing. And there's more to come. If you or your church community would like us to come and do some type of an event where we can talk about what we offer in terms of that pastoral accompaniment and making outreach to families in crisis, please do reach out to us. And I'm just so grateful to be able to serve people like you and your families. So again, learn about us at nonatus.org. Thank you.
Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry present Journeys in Faith. Now, here's Anne DeSantis.
Hi, welcome to Journeys in Faith here on this Friday evening. This is Anne DeSantis, your host. Great to be here. And I have a wonderful guest for all of you. I have Hannah Magnelli. She is an opera singer and also an actress. Hannah, thank you so much for joining us on Journeys in Faith.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
And you were also a guest on Sowing Hope, the podcast that I do with Bill Snyder on Patchwork Heart Ministry some time back. And
Yes.
That was also an honor to get to know you. And we're also grateful to Patrick Novakoski for the introduction between the two of us so that we can learn more about your work and all the great things that you're doing. I'd love to read your bio for those watching the show right now, because you have such experience in what you do. And your bio is that you are rapidly establishing yourself as one of opera's brightest young stars, equally comfortable in opera, musical theater, the concert hall, and the recording studio, making your European debut singing Malika in, now I'm not going to pronounce everything correctly here, so let's just hope that I do my best, in Tuscany in the summer of 2019, and your New York debut. I might skip over some of the pronunciations, which I'll have you help us out with later. And you played the role of Carmen and the role of Dorabella in Mozart's Così fan tutte in May of 2022. You worked and interned with many great musicians, such as Daniel Baraboin, am I pronouncing his last?
Baraboin.
And musicians from the West Eastern Divan Orchestra, Sebastian Weigel, and the Grand Teatro del Luce. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hopefully.
Liceo.
Thank you. Barcelona pianist Lauren Green, and musicians uh, from the Virginia you graduated from the Virginia Commonwealth University, majoring in
Yes.
vocal performance and minoring in German. Further studies include bel canto in Tuscany, and you worked with an acting coach, Donna D. Vaughn, and many other people. And you also continued your studies with tenor James Taylor and Giovanni Rigioli, vocal coach and conductor of the Washington National Opera. And I have to, admittedly, I skipped over some of the pronunciations there because I'm not really all that bilingual and I don't want to embarrass myself. But let's just say this, you worked with some wonderful people in your work as an opera singer. And again, so proud of what you're doing. And let's start out with your faith journey, because I know on our podcast, you shared a little bit about that and how you developed this faith that has so much to do with the talent that you have as well.
So when I was younger, we began going about 11 years old to the Latin Mass. And I grew up in a devout Catholic family. And my mother especially made sure that I'm one of four, that all of us grew up with a good foundation, which I believe is important to have before the kids leave the house for college, for work, they move out, because, there's a lot of influence in the world. It's a secular world, and it's good to have that foundation to maintain yourself as a practicing Catholic or whatever religion you are, if your parents give you that foundation before you leave. And for me, I have, you have trial and errors, all of us make mistakes, and, we're human. But when you have that foundation, which luckily I had and my siblings as well, it is easier to fight the secular world and a lot of the sinful things that come at you. And the music industry, and of course the film as well, there's a lot that goes on that is very secular. And so I feel like that foundation of my faith has helped me to be able to maintain a good foundation with what I do, even though that there is a lot of negative or sinful influence and things thrown at you in this particular career. And you have to be strong, spiritually strong. And of course you ask for help, the help of the saints, you pray the rosary to just kind of keep you grounded so that you can do what you love. You can do what God, use the gifts that God has given you and share that with the world, what makes you happy, what's in your heart to accomplish, what gives you that joy, but not lose your soul in the process.
So important. And especially, I don't know whether I would say that what you're doing specifically as an opera singer, it is within the entertainment industry. I think when people think of entertainment industry, sometimes they think of movies or actors or, something more on that realm, but not so much or maybe they think of, pop or rock singers, things like that, people who are in bands, but maybe what you do, they're not associating that with the quote, the entertainment industry, but it still is. I mean, even if it's more the fine arts, right? And more of something that's to be appreciated. And, it draws in all different demographics and ages, as opposed to just the younger people, right? As opposed to some of the, more modern music, but it's still the entertainment industry. And like you said, there's still some temptations. There's still some things that you have to stay close to God, because you have to stay, within virtue and not vice. We can all, I think in the entertainment industry, sometimes there's always that temptation that it's all about me and it's all about my performance, and how many people think that I'm wonderful and what I do is perfect. And do you agree?
Yeah, there is a lot. There's also a lot of pressure.
There's
There's a lot of pressure, and People expect you to be a certain way. And if they have expectations of you, or you've established yourself as this or that, people expect you to do it really well or perfectly. And there's that pressure, especially now with social media, et cetera, that, I mean, people focus on the smallest little thing. The smallest little thing,
I agree. Yeah.
They'll even say, it's things as simple as, this person needs to fix their eyebrows.
I was just going to say outer appearance. Yep.
Or that person's, those roots are, things like that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So there's a lot of people take pictures of you in public or start videotaping you. So there's a lot you're risking. You're risking, depending on how well known you are, having privacy. But again, that pressure, and there's a lot expected of you. And what a lot of people don't understand is that you see the outer shell of the industry and of the artist, but what people don't see is what's going on behind the scenes, and whatever that is, and especially interiorly with that artist, and what they have to go through, the practice, the time, the pressure, what's really going on behind the scenes. And it's a lot of people in the audience or watching the show or whatever it is don't realize that each of those artists do have struggles, and it's not always, butterflies and rainbows and,
right.
great
Butterflies and rainbows. Yeah.
It's always like that. But there is that aspect of, yes, you get praise, you're good at what you do, and you get that, it's like a dose of dopamine. You get these comments on social media, all these likes, and people praising you for your talent. And, we're human, and it's normal for people that's to help motivate people, and to feed off of that. It motivates you and makes you feel good, and you practice even more. It makes, and I think where the faith comes in is, and this can be harder to do when you forget about it, is God has given you these gifts. Are you using it for his glory or for yours?
Yes.
And I think it's natural human nature to want to have some of that for yourself, but like I said, it's easy to forget the spiritual aspect of this. And why did God give you this gift? How does he want you to use it? Because there are many artists that abuse the gifts that God has given them. And a lot of that has to do with your faith foundation. And that's just not in Christianity, but others as well. Other religions with people that have had their parents be, I don't want to say strict, but really focused on getting their children in line with what's right and what's wrong, what they should and shouldn't do. Because these parents know that when these kids go out in the world, especially a world like this, or areas of work, there's going to be a lot of temptation, and these things that are thrown at you are not thrown at you all at once, or this big change in yourself. It's done very slowly.
Oh, yes.
Little things to change you and get that mindset that it's okay to do this. It's okay to do that. So it's not this grandiose change. These people, you form your image slowly. Sometimes it's good, but sometimes it's not so good. It really depends on maybe who's in control of you.
Wow. So well said.
When you're in the moment, sometimes what's really hard is when you're in the moment, people will do it, but then they realize later, oops, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And then they're kind of stuck. And, you could be on set somewhere and they could be like, if you do this, we'll give you an extra, like this much more money, or we'll do this. And if you're on the spot, you'll be like, oh, okay. And it's not that much that you're, and then you're thinking, oh, I shouldn't have done that, because you don't feel in those moments you hear something really positive that you're going to get. And it's so that's where it's good to have that faith, to be able to be aware of things like that are thrown at you and say, okay, I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe this isn't a good idea. To train yourself to the point where in the moment you can say no.
Yeah, I love everything that you said, because it's all true. And all I'll say on my end is that something that I do on a very, very part-time basis is as a 55 plus model actress in the greater Philadelphia area. And I understand exactly what you're saying, because you might be within a group of people on set, as you said, where you might be the only person of faith at all. And it's just, and I do think that in that world, sometimes the respect is not there. Sometimes it is, but many times it isn't. So
there
thank you.
are other artists that are practicing in their faith.
Yes. Good.
They keep it low key.
Yeah, because they know what they're up against. That's exactly what it is. And you lose, and we do have to take a commercial break in just a minute or two. But one thing I would say is that for me, I've turned down way more things than I've accepted because of that element of things that are something that I'm against in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
And you don't always know that right away until you ask a lot of questions, you know?
Right.
So I think we can have a side conversation about this, but God has a reason why we're talking about it. And it's a great topic for the show, because this is journeys in faith, right? And part of that journey in faith for all of us, even those who are not in the entertainment industry, is that saying yes to God and no to evil every single day of our lives. And it's a fight for every single one of us. So now we do have to take a break. We have a lot more to talk about, because we are going to talk a lot about what you're doing and that call to action to our audience here, to your profiles on social media and your beautiful work as an opera singer. So we'll be right back here on Journeys in Faith in just a few minutes.
Today, many students go to college with numerous questions about their faith, yearning to know if the seed planted in them as a child is both true and practical. Using the miracle on the road to Emmaus as a model, young adult ministers conversed weekly for 3 months with college students about the most pressing questions they had about the Catholic faith. As they journeyed together virtually, something amazing happened. Doubts disappeared, fears faded, and Jesus revealed that He is still alive. Hearts Burning Within Us, the latest book from Patchwork Heart Ministry, is a result of that grace-infused conversation. It is the perfect back-to-school gift for recent high school graduates and current college students. Get your copy for them today at patchworkheart.org or by calling 424-704-3278. That's 424-704-3278.
To God and no to evil every single day of our lives. And it's a fight for every single one of us. So now we do have to take a break. We have a lot more to talk about, because we are going to talk a lot about what you're doing and that call to action to our audience here, to your profiles on social media and your beautiful work as an opera singer. So we'll be right back here on Journeys in Faith in just a few minutes.
Today, many students go to college with numerous questions about their faith, yearning to know if the seed planted in them as a child is both true and practical. Using the miracle on the road to Emmaus as a model, young adult ministers conversed weekly for 3 months with college students about the most pressing questions they had about the Catholic faith. As they journeyed together virtually, something amazing happened. Doubts disappeared, fears faded, and Jesus revealed that He is still alive. Hearts Burning Within Us, the latest book from Patchwork Heart Ministry, is a result of that grace-infused conversation. It is the perfect back-to-school gift for recent high school graduates and current college students. Get your copy for them today at patchworkheart.org or by calling 424 424-704-3278. That's 424-704-3278.
Welcome back to Journeys in Faith. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday evening with Hannah Magnelli. She is an opera singer and also an actress. And during the first half of the program, we talked a lot about the entertainment industry and also what it's like for her as an accomplished opera singer and being a person of faith and practicing her faith, and also with some of the struggles that she can go through, or any of us can go through in our daily lives with trying to be virtuous. So that was a good conversation. I want to just say, let's talk more later on. Maybe we can have a part 2 where we expand on some of those topics that we just discussed. I'd like to talk about Cinema Paradiso. That is your latest piece.
Yes.
So tell us all about that.
Well, this particular piece is it's not an opera aria. It's classical crossover. So more of your Josh Groban, Andrea Bocelli, it's a mixture of pop and classical. So that's more of the crossover. And the reason why I chose this piece as my first single is because it just has a special place in my heart. I've recorded it before in the past, right outside of college. And it's just such a beautiful piece and from a beautiful movie. And it's the crossover caters more to the masses, more people like this, like your Bocellis, the Sarah Brightmans, the Josh Grobans, than full-blown opera. Because my voice, you listen to Cinema Paradiso that I did, it's a lighter version of my voice. I add more straight tone and it's not as heavy, but that's because that's the style of the piece. If I wanted to sing it operatically, like I'm singing an opera, it would have been fuller and a little different, more with the classic technique. But this piece, not only is it beautiful and I love singing it, but it's a good start for public establishment because not everybody likes strict opera per se. But these pieces like Cinema Paradiso, Nella Fantasia, Time to Say Goodbye, Caruso, people like that.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think you're right. Most people tend to like music that's kind of more like in the middle,
Right.
like
And
not the extremes of music. So I think that's a good point. And I listen to it and I think it's beautiful. And
thank you.
Tell us, people who are watching who want to get that piece, how do they do that?
If you want to get to this piece, it's available now on music platforms, Amazon, Spotify. Spotify streams are great. iTunes, Napster. So you can, on all these different music platforms, you can listen to it. So it is available.
Awesome. Now let's talk about, and I really want to talk a lot about this because people need to connect with you and learn more about what you're doing, because you are an extremely talented person in terms of your musical abilities and your acting too. Tell us where they can find you on all those social media platforms.
I do have, of course, my website is hannahmagnelli.com. And my Instagram is, I do a lot of, my promotions and updates and what's going on my music and acting journey. So that's a good, on Instagram, that's a good place if you want to follow me. It's Hannah_Magnelli. And there it's a good place to follow me, this whole journey of mine. And then on Facebook, there's Hannah Magnelli, mezzo soprano. So those are probably the biggest platforms to be updated on what I'm doing. And then of course I have a YouTube channel that you can subscribe to. When I post a new video, whether that's opera or crossover, you'll get updated on when that is being published.
Now tell us also your schedule. Right now we're taping this in February of 2022. Is there anything coming this year, like say places that you're visiting in the United States where people can get tickets and go to some of your performances?
Well, now with COVID we're I guess, slowly coming to the end, hopefully, of this pandemic. There are still, unfortunately, performances that have been canceled and are still getting canceled. And also they had to cancel last season. So a lot of performances that were canceled in the previous season are now in this season. So a lot of singers have to wait until next season to have opportunities, because they're making up the 2021-2022 season now from the 2020. So right now I do have coming up Così fan tutte, and which will be at the end of May. You'll be able to watch that studio performance at In Your Ear Studios. There will be a YouTube live and I believe a Facebook live link where you can watch it. And that is not yet available, but it will be. And that's through In Your Ear Studios. If you want to be up the link, but you can also follow In Your Ear on Facebook, and they will post the event in the link. And that'll be the end of May. I will be singing Dorabella, which is a lot of fun. It's a great role. Last year I did Carmen, and I do plan on doing some more projects. Right now I am working with Amitha Studios, and I'm hoping to do Time to Say Goodbye duet with John Reason. And I would like to do the Carmen Seguidilla. And there are a couple of other recordings I would like to do in the future that I can make available to the public for just establishing myself, and as well as videos. So right now, with where we are with COVID and the opportunities that I'm able to have now with all of that, that is currently what's going on.
It's all good. And there's more to come, I'm sure.
Yes.
And just backing up a little bit, I really loved what you said during our first half of the show about, and especially at the beginning, how this journey came about for you was it started in childhood. And some
Yes.
of the good decisions that your family made, your parents made, that guided you on that right path. And I think it's beautiful that now at your age and what you're doing and in your career, you are faced with like your own decisions and saying, like, which road am I going to go on? Right. And so I think it's really wonderful and a testament to your upbringing that you have really decided to go in that correct path. Like you said, there's going to be times where you're tempted, especially in the entertainment field, because they may pay you a certain amount. I know this even for myself with commercials or acting jobs where it's like, okay. And I read through what it is. And I say, you know what? I don't care if it's $2,000 for a day. Sorry. I can't do that because it's not something that I agree with on my morality, for my morality and what I really follow in my faith.
Right.
So I just think it's good that you have that recognition. And when you sang it on this show, I mean, it's public, you're publicly saying that you have a certain standard, right? You have a certain standard of the type of work that you will accept in that field. Am I right?
Yes, you have to. And of course, too, my acting agent is also Christian. She's devout Christian. So she's really good at what she submits her actors to.
Very good. Very good. So any advice for someone watching with a child or a younger person who wants to get involved in something like what you're doing in terms of being an opera singer? I mean, maybe were there some things that you did in your early life that led to where you are now?
Well, I started vocal lessons when I was very young. And of course, at the time, you don't sing in opera. That's not something you should do. Your vocal cords are not fully developed. And even when you go to college, there's certain arias that you are not able to sing yet, which is why a lot of those 10-year-old opera singers, they consider opera singers that come on America's Got Talent, etc., their voices burn out because it's too much for their voice. The female vocal cord is like the size of a dime, and that's fully developed. So I was singing appropriate music at the time, a lot of musical theater and art song, and a lot of singers start at church. I would sing with I started studying with the choir master of the church that at the time at around 12, 13 years old on the more classical music, art song, liturgical music to kind of get that going. And then of course, high school, I went to Catholic school. So I started cantering at all the school masses and different events. And so church is a big area where a lot of singers and musicians start. performing and getting that experience and exposure. And of course, college, whenever you major in music, it's going to be the classic technique is going to be the base, regardless of what genre you want to go into. So when you go to college, you are going to be studying classical technique, because that's the base. Even if you want to do country music or pop or musical theater, you're going to learn that classic technique. And so for me, I had a classical voice. I loved classical crossover and opera. My mother exposed us to going to the symphony and to the opera when we were younger. And I had just always had that musical talent and desire. And it was just such an inclination. Like, my heart has always been in music. I played violin for more or less 12 years, and I started acting when I was younger. And I just always felt at home and just happy. And it just it took off from there.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I think that's good, sound advice. My own brother is actually involved in music. He's more of, I guess, in the realm of, he's a singer, songwriter, more of like a folksy kind of a sound. But I remember when we interviewed him, I asked him that same question. And I said, if there was someone watching, what advice would you have? Or what do they need in order to move forward? And the word that he said back, which I think you would agree, is raw talent. Without that raw talent is something that is needed, isn't it? It's not like you can't just say, I want to be an opera singer, but yet you do need to have some kind of raw talent. Is that true?
Yes, you do need raw talent. You need the passion, and motivation is a big one. And you have to be willing to accept the fact that you are taking a risk, because you're not guaranteed fame or full success where you're making millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're taking that risk, and you have to just really love what you're doing. It's very costly. My vocal lessons, the travel, my coachings. So you have coachings and voice lessons. It all adds up. And if you're not sponsored, sometimes you get patrons, which is always nice, where they pay for you. They see an artist, they want you to succeed, and they pay for things for you to help. And I do not have that right now. So it's all coming out of my pocket. And you have to really love it to invest that. And of course, you don't have a salary. And so you're risking a lot. And I would say you definitely need that motivation. It has to be something that really lies in your heart to want to do, that passion for it. So it's definitely, if you love it, it's going, no matter what side job or other career that you have, it's always going to stay, and you're always going to go back to it.
Yeah, it's excellent advice. And if somebody's watching, maybe they want to get in touch with you on your website at hannahmagnelli.com. I'm sure you have a contact form there.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to ask questions or learn more about what you're doing, or just to find out some of those dates and upcoming events that you're doing. So I want to invite everybody again to go to those social media platforms, to Facebook and Instagram. And I think that was just mostly those two, wasn't it? Just
Facebook.
Instagram,
Facebook, and of course I have my website, but
and the website and YouTube as well. And YouTube, make sure that you connect on all those places. Unfortunately, we are almost out of time. So did you have any final words before we end, Hannah?
That's pretty much it. I appreciate people's prayers for my success. And again, I appreciate any follows, and, appreciate your support. It's really nice to engage with fans and your followers, and to see that they really enjoy what you're doing and that they support you.
Amen. You're really an honor. I would love to have you back on again on Journeys in Faith. And
I love that.
It's just wonderful to get to know you through these podcasts and shows that we've been doing. So God bless you, Hannah.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see all of you here next week on Journeys in Faith with Anne DeSantis on Fiat Ministry Network. God bless.
Journeys of Faith is a production of Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry. For more information about Journeys of Faith, email info@fiatministrynetwork.tv. And be sure to friend, follow, and like us on social media. Just search Journeys in Faith with Anne DeSantis.